شخصا يعني
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Future blog describes alleged threats by Hezbollah MP Mohammed Raad against the movement's officials in aggression on civil peace, saying they are a reflection of terrorism. The blast rips through a Shia mosque in eastern Saudi Arabia, injuring and killing many. And fears mount over the fate of one of the Middle East's most prominent archaeological sites after ISIS militants overrun the historic Syrian town of Palmyra. The Future blog is describing alleged threats by Hezbollah MP Mohammed Raad against the movement's officials as an aggression on civil peace, saying they are a reflection of terrorism proliferating in the Middle East because of the party's main backer, which is Iran. The blog's statement said that Raad's threat to future Secretary General Ahmed Hariri and Justice Minister Ashraf Rifi is an assault on civil peace and is the other face of the extremism and terrorist movements that are proliferating in the region because of the way Iran is behaving. The last person to talk about this statement is Justice Minister. Raad told Al Mayadeen TV earlier this week in response to calls made by Rifi to abolish Hezbollah's so-called mini-state. Raad did not hesitate to make verbal threats against the two officials at a time when Hezbollah members are accused of carrying out the assassination of former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. A blast has ripped through a Shia mosque in eastern Saudi Arabia, according to authorities, in what an activist said was a deadly suicide bombing. You're watching the images now. The Interior Ministry said a large explosion hit the mosque in Kudai in the Shia-majority Qatif region during the main weekly prayers. An activist said at least 4 worshippers were killed and others wounded, but numbers and the toll is estimated to be much higher. Army Chief General Jean Ahwaji is vowing to liberate the remaining land occupied by Israel and to bring back home servicemen taken hostage by jihadists. He said, quote, "We will not despair until we liberate the last inch of our land." This was in his order of the day on the occasion of Resistance and Liberation Day, which is celebrated on Monday the 25th. The military commander also vowed to preserve the nation's land, people, and institutions, expressing confidence in the Army's willingness to be honored with such a noble mission. Liberation Day falls on May 25th of every year and marks the withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon in 2000 following an occupation of 22 years. Ahwaji reiterated that the army would exert all efforts to free the troops and policemen taken captive by jihadists from the northeastern border town of Arsel in August last year. He stressed that the preservation of coexistence and full loyalty to Lebanon have always been the objectives of the institution. A possible Hezbollah intervention is worrying the residents of the border town of Arsel. Sources close to Hezbollah are calling for an immediate action against Syrian jihadists hidden in the whereabouts around the city, a move rejected by the residents of the town. A meeting was held this morning in this town bordering Syria in the presence of a delegation from the Future movement as well as representatives of Syrian refugees. Participants indicated that Arsel is a red line and no party has the right to lead an invasion or bomb the city or its inhabitants. They said the army is the sole authority that could lead a possible intervention. An undated video posted on a militant website showed ISIS group fighters in the Syrian town of Palmyra. A small group of residents appeared to welcome ISIS militants who are patrolling the streets, but there are fears for one of the Middle East's most renowned archaeological sites after Islamic State militants overran the town. ISIS fighters have previously damaged and destroyed archaeological artifacts in other parts of the region. Fears mounting over the fate of this Middle East's prominent archaeological site after the Islamic State has overrun it, seizing control on Thursday of its temples, tombs, and colonnades within hours. Both the White House and the U.S. State Department are describing the developments in Palmyra and Ramadi as setbacks, but insist that the U.S.-led air campaign and the administration strategy are making progress overall in diminishing ISIL's capabilities.
It is a setback. I think that's a word that we've described over the course of the last week. It's actually the same word that the president used as I mentioned in Tuesday's briefing, when the President was meeting with the chiefs of defense of the coalition partners back in October of last year, he noted that this military conflict, like other military conflicts, would be characterized by days of progress and by periods of setback.
Iraq's vice president is criticizing the U.S.-led coalition forces that have been bombing Islamic State targets in Iraq and Syria since last year for not achieving significant results and driving out the militants from the two countries. Speaking to reporters at the World Economic Forum in Jordan, Ayad Alawi said that the U.S.-led coalition has no clear strategy and that airstrikes do not solve the problem. He also warned that if new political and military strategies are not formed, there would be more bloodshed. Huge explosions are rocking the outskirts of the Yemeni capital after Saudi-led airstrikes against positions held by Houthi Shia rebels and their allies. In southern Yemen, at least 19 fighters are killed in airstrikes and in clashes on the ground. In North Sana'a, coalition warplanes attacked a stadium and a camp of the Republican Guard loyal to ousted President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who sided with the Houthis. Other targets include another camp in Sana'a and Dalaima Air Base near the capital's international airport. Residents say the coalition also struck Houthi positions in Marib province to the east of Sana'a, but no immediate casualty were available for any of the raids. Coming up next, the Lebanese Diaspora Conference takes place at Habtoor Hotel, attracting more than 1,500 people. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Future Television in English. Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil is reiterating his call for Parliament's adoption of a draft law on giving the Lebanese nationality to expatriates. During a presentation at the conference Lebanese Diaspora Energy 2015, Bassil urged the expats to press for the approval of the draft law. The first step that comes in parallel with the adoption of the law is made by pressing for e-registration to achieve e-voting. Held for a second consecutive year, Bassil said that the Lebanese culture forever stays preserved in the people who have left and remain attached to the country. The conference, which is an event aimed at further strengthening the bonds between Lebanese residents and immigrants worldwide, runs through Saturday. The event showcases the success of Lebanese expats and to encourage them to stay connected while celebrating their Lebanese heritage and promoting a powerful image of Lebanon abroad.
Lebanon is a brand in itself. Thanks to its location at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and Africa, it has been shaped by many civilizations. An example lies in its cities, which were major outposts and seaports in Phoenician and Roman times, and those are just two of the civilizations that touched this very important country. Since the end of the war in 1990, Lebanese people have been busy rebuilding the nation, so it can once again become a touristic and cultural center in the Middle East, as well as a hub for commerce, fashion, and media, among others. It has not always been easy. The turmoil in neighboring Syria and the lack of stability and security have greatly impacted the number of visiting expatriates and investments made. That being said, Lebanon is a bastion of modernity, whose way of life, vibrancy, charm, and value system continue to be a magnet for Arab and international visitors. And on that alone, there is very much to build.
Why Lebanon? I do not need to tell you why Lebanon. You are all expats and I would like you to come and invest in your country. And what you need to know about Lebanon first is that despite everything that has been happening, whether it's the political security conditions and everything that is happening in the neighboring countries, we still manage to attract investments. Even if at a lower level, in 2013 we still managed $2.8 billion of foreign investments coming into the country. We have identified 8 pillars that we consider important and that need to be highlighted for Lebanese expatriates and other investors to come to Lebanon. First, we have the ease of setting up a business. According to the Doing Business Monitor of the World Bank, we only need 7 days to establish a business in Lebanon and only 35 procedures, which is not a long time compared to other countries. We talked about Lebanon in general. The tourism sector represents 25% of the GDP, which is a very high percentage and a very high ratio, and compared to the world average of only 9.8%. We also employ directly and indirectly more than 300,000 people. So the sector itself is very important to the Lebanese economy, and that's why it's important for us to have as many investments as possible. What are our advantages in this sector particularly, not only Lebanon in general? First of all, we have many leisure attractions, which makes tourists and want to come to the country, which would make it interesting for investors to actually come and invest in the sector. We have many cultural and religious heritages. We have many places that the UNESCO has set as World Heritage. We have Anjar, Baalbek, Byblos, Sur, Mgharit Adisha, and the Forest of the Cedars.
And thank you for the opportunity also to talk to the Lebanese diaspora. Is very important for the Lebanese tourism, and we believe, and I believe myself, that the diaspora is the most important touristic source for Lebanon, and that's where is the future for us in terms of attracting tourists to Lebanon. As far as Kurban is concerned, we have quite a diversified portfolio in terms of transport and tourism. The company was main business was built on tourism, and however we've been diversifying into transportation, into car rental by representation of Avis rental car, budget rental car, allo transport. Then in the travel business, we have a outbound travel, tour operating, we have a corporate division, we have the tourism, inbound tourism to Lebanon, as well as airline representations.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Future blog describes alleged threats by Hezbollah MP Mohammed Raad against the movement's officials as an aggression on civil peace, saying they are a reflection of terrorism. A blast rips through a Shia mosque in eastern Saudi Arabia, injuring and killing many. And fears mount over the fate of one of the Middle East's most prominent archaeological sites after ISIS militants overrun the historic Syrian town of Palmyra. Those are your Friday headlines live on Future Television. Catch us again tomorrow at 4:20 for the latest. I'm Yumna Nofal, signing off. Have a good weekend.